Hi everybody, this is a quick video that I used in the classroom. I used it when I was teaching in my classroom, and it goes over the basics of how to draw a face. Now, a good way to practice this is take a picture with your phone of a person, close-up face, put the picture down next to you, and just follow my instructions. It's a lot of fun, and if you do a couple of faces, 2, 3, 4 faces, you will start to get good at it. So go have fun with it and enjoy. What I would like you to do is find a picture on Google. Don't forget on Google you can hit, when you go to images, you can hit HD. And that will give you much more crisp, clear, high resolution photos. And then after you do that, I'm just going to draw a circle here. Find a way to put the picture in front of you, whether it's on your phone or your computer. What I do is I have a little stand that I put my iPad on. It allows me to see real clearly right in front of me the face. Try to find a face that has no particular expression. The face is not happy, sad, angry, just sort of a neutral face. And I'll show you an example. Now, what I want you to do is draw a circle, and then we're going to just extend that down a little bit. We don't want it to be too long, just a little bit, so that we end up having an oval. Then you're going to take a ruler, and you can measure if you want. So like the width of this face is basically 2.5 inches. If you feel you have a really good eye for it, you could just draw a line down the center like that. And then the same thing, I'm going to measure the height of this face is about 3.25 inches. So I want to get the center, and I always just sort of eye it because I'm fairly good at that. You will all get very good at that as you continue to practice these things that I show you. Faces are fun. They really are. Now, from time to time, as I do this, I will make mistakes. Here I just told you how wonderful I am at this. Not so much. Let's go down. I was a little bit high on that line. So I'm just going to go a little further. But like I said, you can measure. So let's just see. One way to do this is after you do your line across the face, you put a little line there, move this up, and see, now I can see it's very close to accurate. Okay, so the reason I put an eye in the center is that I line in the center is that from this line to the top of the head, which is there, that is the halfway from the chin, and that's where the eyes go. So your eyes are going to go right here. Now remember, eyes are not round, and everyone's eyes are shaped a little differently. The woman that I'm drawing right now is Oriental, and her eyes have a characteristic that's unique for that particular, for Oriental people. So because her eyes are slightly more pointy on the end, there we go. Now the distance between the center line and the nose is very similar on both sides, this distance and this distance. Now, will I get it perfect? Probably not. One of the things involved with doing drawings of people is you're going to erase a lot. It's just going to be practice until you get it right. Constant adjusting. Very few people just draw faces perfectly the first time, unless they're used to drawing faces all the time. So I'm also going to place the circle inside the eye. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now look carefully as you're drawing the eye. Sometimes you can see a line, like she has where her eyelid is, a line coming down like that. It's very thin. Same thing on the other side, but if I draw that in, it gives me a little more realness to it. Now, generally, where that nose ends is between this dot and the chin. Now, is that perfectly true with everyone? No. Everyone's different. But it's not a bad idea to put a line there, just as sort of a beginning point. Now, as you're doing this, you want to be careful not to run a line down here. A lot of people do a line there. Generally, there is no line there, okay? You may see a little bit of a shadow coming down from the eyebrows this way, but first determine where the nose is. So we're going to go like this, and she's a very sort of perfectly round nose. Now, in the beginning of doing this, I'm not concerned for you to make it look exactly like the person you're drawing. I'm happy if it just looks really accurately like a person in the beginning. After a while of doing this, and you start to get good at it, you'll start to pick up and reflect the characteristics of the person you're drawing. For example, right now I'm doing a portrait of my mother, and my first sketches and even beginning painting does not look like her and has not captured her. That takes a little bit of time. So now I'm going to put a little V right here to give me a sense of where the nose is going to be. And some people call this, what I'm doing right now, I measure where the mouth is according to where the nose is. You can kind of eye it and get a real sense. Some people call that a Cupid's bow, because if you faced it to the right, it's just like a Cupid's bow. So draw your Cupid's bow. Bottom of the lips are going to be very similar, except that part's typically more round or rounded. Once I have the features, and now I'm going to kind of erase the Cupid bow and just have two slight gentle lines there. Okay, and then generally, and this varies with people, the ears usually start just a hair above that eye line, come down, and of course it depends on the person. You know, it really does vary a lot from person to person. Some have large ears, some have small ears, but generally that is true. And these ears are coming out a little too long, so I'm going to bring them in just slightly and correct as I go. One of the things I love about drawing is correcting as I go. So now that I have the eyes, pretty good example of where the nose are, and maybe I'll just do a slight line here indicating the cheek lines. Now that I have that, I want to start to get more precise about the lines around the face. So a lot of this is what I call, I'm going to erase the ears just for now. A lot of this is what I call eye-hand coordination. You're looking at it really, really carefully. Judge the distance from the eye to the edge of the head. I'm a big believer in sort of intuitive drawing, in you look really carefully at it as you go, and you just sort of, it's more of a feel. You will go up on YouTube and find lots of more mathematical ways of drawing faces. But I think the important thing in drawing faces is learning how to let your eye-hand coordinate with each other. So in other words, as I'm looking at this part of her face, I'm at the exact same moment following it with my eye. And I do that really slowly and really carefully. And that's what you call eye-hand coordination. And now her jaw is a little bit on the square side. Will she look like the person I'm drawing? Close. I'm not looking in this particular picture to pick up the qualities of the personality. You might have to do, I don't know, 20 or 30 drawings before you get good enough to start capturing that personality. That's my opinion. So here the face goes in a little and out and then up. And this particular picture doesn't show the top of the head, but that's okay. So now what I'm going to do is, she has like this sort of almost tight hairline. Okay. And I'm just going to sort of outline that in. It's not a lot of detail to this particular woman's hair in this picture. Now you can use any picture. It can be a woman, it can be a man. Totally your choice. It looks kind of strange. I think what I'm going to do is use a little what's called artistic license and just sort of draw it more like it looks like hair, just so you can see. Okay, so my line's starting to disappear, so remember, I usually keep the eye line and the bottom of the nose line until I'm almost completely done. Okay, and then it's constant correction. Like for example, I see I'm just a hair too wide over here. So it goes like this, and then it's a little sharper in the way it starts to slope in. And you may end up, like I'll take a drawing like this, and I'll spend, 5, 10, maybe a half hour until I get it just right. You know, whatever the amount of time takes, I'm only requiring you right now to do maybe 25 minutes of drawing. Of course, it's fun. You're welcome to, spend time doing more drawing than I assign. Okay, and then now what I have is I have just a basic face, fairly accurate. I'm not going to spend a lot of time making all those adjustments. It sort of would take another 10 minutes, and I want to try to make these videos kept to about 10 minutes if possible. Her lips may be a little too big, so I will adjust that. I think they're a little more dainty than I drew them. So we'll adjust that Cupid's bow. And I find it helpful as you go when you're adjusting, if you sort of erase the mistakes you're making. So today's assignment is to do a face. We're going to spend maybe till about Wednesday working on faces. And then we're going to go back to different types of exercises to learn how to draw people. And then the following week, what I was planning on doing is having a really fun sort of week-long assignment that you could do, getting more elaborate than just daily exercises. So real quickly, let me just put the ears back in here, roughly, so I don't leave her without ears. And then I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to have you continue. Now keep in mind, I have to fix that a bit. Keep in mind one thing, that we're changing things this week. You do not have to attach your assignment every day, okay? One of the reasons I'm changing that, it was just way too much email, and I like to make comments on the work, and I was getting something like 130 emails a day. So if we all just drop our work on Friday, and that'll include Monday's assignment, Tuesday's assignment, Wednesday's assignment, Thursday and Friday. All my assignments will show up at 7 a.m., sometimes the night before if I'm ahead of the game, but the latest will be 7 a.m. every morning. And I will only mail out in Google Classroom one assignment this week, and that will be for Friday, so that all of you can drop your 5 assignments on Friday. So, last thing, when you do eyes, I would just leave a little white spot in the middle, and I would do that circle. Makes the eyes look way more realistic, the pupil of the eye. And we will leave it at that. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.